Hey guys, in this video we're going to be covering activity 4C.2. Our mastery learning objective is I can determine the average rate of change over a specific interval between 2 points on a table. So now we have a table, or we just have any 2 points, right? Still kind of the same concept of average rate of change. We're trying to figure out if it's going to be positive or negative. But here, when we are not given a graph where we can easily count rise over run, what we're going to do is we're going to use the average rate of change, which is just the slope formula, right? So what we're going to say is that our average rate of change, right, m is going to be, right, average rate of change is our m. So m is going to equal our y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So this is slope, so what you should be given is 2 ordered pairs, right? This is where you'll see the x2 and y2 and x1 and y1. So as long as you are subtracting one variable from the other, keep the y's at the top, x is at the bottom, you should get these average rate of changes correct. So looking at this first example, it says find the average rate of change between the 2 given points. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit on this first example. Because what we want to figure out is we want to find that slope. So again, we're going to have, this is my x. Get a thinner marker here. So first, remember that our x comes first and then our y value. X and then y. So x, y, x, y. It does not matter which one you say first, as long as you subtract one by the other. I'm actually going to change this one to a blue so we can see what I'm doing. Alright, so first I'm going to get the second equation. I'm going to say that y, so negative 4, and we're always going to be subtracting. Subtracting is part of the equation. Does not matter what the next term is. So subtract 7. Those are my y's, and then I'm going to put those over my x's. So go back to the blues, which was 2. Minus, because it's always minus, and then I'm going to subtract that x value of the first. So negative 4 minus 7. Please, if you get a little bit goofed up with those negatives, don't just use your calculator. It's fine. Negative 4 minus 7, they are both negatives. So my answer is going to be negative 11. 2 minus 1 is a positive 1, and a negative 11 over 1 is just a negative 11. So that is my average rate of change for that first example. Alright, let's practice number 2. So again, using that x's and y's. So xy, x, y. Alright, looking at the next example, second minus the first. So 2. I know I'm going to be subtracting. I'm just going to go ahead and substitute those in. So 2 minus that 5. Go back to my blues. 6 minus that negative 3. So this is why it's important, because that x value was already a negative, but you're still subtracting, so that's not going to change. So we are subtracting a negative in the denominator. So 2 minus 5 is going to be negative 3. Minus negative 3 ends up being plus a positive, right? Double negative changed to be plus a positive. So therefore 6 plus 3 is 9. And negative 3 divided by 9 simplifies to a negative 1/3. If you ever need to look at your calculator, feel free to type that in, right? Negative 3 divided by 9 gives me a negative 1/3. So please just simplify always, and you can check it in your calculator, that is fine. Looking at example number 3. Same steps. This is my x, this is my y, this is my x, this is my y. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract my y's from my x's. So 2 minus, we know we're subtracting in both the numerator and the denominator. So this is going to be minus a negative 4. 1 minus a negative, minus 2. Simplify this. Well, again, minus a negative changes to plus a positive. Minus a negative in the denominator becomes plus a positive. So 2 plus 4 is 6. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 6 over 3 is 2. Again, if you need to check that in your calculator, you can type 6 divided by 3 is 2, right? You can check these all, especially with the negatives and positives. Feel free to use your calculator. But we should be able to hopefully add and subtract and multiply and divide positives and negatives. Alright, example number 4. 0 minus that y value of a negative 3 all over 5 minus 2. Alright, so 0 minus 3, that changes to plus a positive. So that's going to give me a positive 3 in the numerator. 5 minus 2 is a positive 3. And 3 over 3 is 1. Alright, so that's all just practicing when you're given 2 points. Sometimes you might be given a table and it tells you which points that you need to use. So looking at the next couple of examples, example number 5, it says use the table below to find the average rate of change on the following intervals. So it's telling us from anywhere between x equaling 0 all the way to x equaling 2. So in between 0 and 2, these two answers though, not answers, these two values are x's. So all that's telling me is the x value. We don't know what the y value is, alright? So looking at our table, when x is equal to 0, it's kind of hard to see here, but x is equal to 0 right here, which means that my y value is a 3. Okay, I'm actually hopefully going to erase this one and change this one to a different color. Blue. Because all this 2 means is when x equals 2, my y value is a negative 1. Alright, now that I have my 2 points, I can go ahead and solve for what my rate of change is. So I'm going to say, then doesn't really matter which one you start with. I can say negative 1 minus 3 all over 2 minus 0. So negative 1 minus 3, they're both negative, so negative 4. 2 minus 0 is 2, and negative 4 over a positive 2 is a negative 2. Alright, looking at the next example here, I have between the values of x equaling 2 and 5. So again, this is going to be my x value. I have to find wherever x is equal to 2. So again, that's also going to be this guy right here. So at 2, my y value is negative 1. And then my other value, make it purple, is 5. And where does x equal 5? Down here, which means my y is 8. Alright, so I'm going to start subtracting. 8 minus, I know I'm going to be subtracting at the bottom as well. So minus that negative 1, go back to my purple, 5 minus 2, and you don't have to color code. Hopefully in a couple of examples you kind of see what I'm doing. Again, double negative here changes to plus a positive. So 8 plus 1 is 9. 5 minus 2 is 3. And 9 over 3 is 3. Alright, so it's very similar. You're still doing the same formula, except for sometimes you have a table and you have to look for what the y value is. If you want to put for yourself something that's kind of important, you can put the little star here and say, you know, these are the x values, right? That's why we see that x here. So make sure that you're only then looking for where those values are in the x to figure out what the y value is, okay? It's not its own ordered pair. Alright, next example here, example number 6. We have a table, and we need to solve for the average rate of change for these following ones. So again, these are the x values. So we're only going to be looking for where those values are here so that we can figure out what the y value is. So looking at that first point, -2, my point at -2 is -22. And then my other value for x was 0. So where is that 0? Right here at -6. So 0, -6. I'm not going to color code anymore. Hopefully we get the idea of what we're subtracting. So I'm going to say -6 minus a -22. Again, that minus sign is part of the equation. That -22 just happens to be negative. 0 minus a -2. So this changes to plus a positive, plus a positive. So therefore, -6 plus 22 is a positive 16. 0 plus 2 is 2. And 16 divided by 2 is 8. Again, feel free to check this in your calculator. If you do that in negatives, make sure that when you type in that -6 minus a -22, that you use the negative sign that's underneath the 3, not another just random negative sign or subtraction sign. So in 0, x equals 0, we already kind of talked about that point, right? The y value is -6. Looking at when x is 3, my y value is -27. So subtracting means -27 minus a -6 all over 3 minus 0. Top becomes plus a positive, so 27 plus 16, or plus 6 is a -18. Right, because this changes to plus a positive, double negative there. And 3 minus 0 is 3. -18 over 3 is -6. Good, good, good. Keep scrolling down here. So we'll see letter C. Gonna pick, and then I'm not going to, damn it, nope, you see already. So, when x is -1, my y value is 11. When x is 3, my y value is 27. And then we're just going to go ahead and subtract. So, y minus y over x minus x. -27 minus 11 is going to give me negative, was it a -11? Oh, it was a -11. So that was my mistake. Notice right here, this was a -11, so I'm going to write that negative here. So this whole thing is negative. There we go. Now when we add a positive, right, plus a positive, that's going to change to -27 plus 11, which is going to give me -16. Again, plus a positive down here, so 3 plus 1 is 4, and -16 over +4 is -4. Last one here, I'm not going to do any more colors. When x is a -1, y is a -11. When x is 0, y is a -6. So last example here, -6 minus a -11, all over 0 minus 1. These both change to become plus a positive because they are both negative. So -6 plus 11 is going to give me a positive 5. 0 plus 1 is 1. And my average rate of change is 5. Alright, that brings us to the end of this video. Go ahead and work on activity 4C.2. Good luck.